There is something deliciously sweet about watching demolitions. Watching a high-standing skyscraper that could be as long as 130 meters crumble and reduce to nothing can be appealing. And that's why you are now tuned to watch this video, and more so, why we brought it to you. Let's take a look at 15 scary building demolitions that were caught on camera. Number 15. JL Hudson Department Store. Hudson was the tallest department store in the world in 1961 and surpassed Macy's anchor store in New York only in terms of square footage. Of course, at the time, it dominated the city's retail market during the 1970s, closed its doors in 1983, and went on to become a Detroit landmark. The department served as a good representation of Detroit in many ways, but why? Because of its size, the lengthy construction process, and the labor-intensive nature of creating the 12 layers of the structure and everything inside. It is rather regrettable that it had to be demolished in the end. Number 14. Trump Plaza. 3,000 sticks of dynamite in Atlantic City, New Jersey, destroyed the Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino in only 20 seconds. When Trump opened this facility in the 1980s, he was experiencing great success. However, in 2009, following a string of bankruptcy filings, the reality television host and New York real estate tycoon severed ties with the facility. Trump Plaza was the worst performing casino in Atlantic City when it closed its doors in 2014, bringing in more money from players every 8.5 months than the Borgata Casino did every 2 weeks. That's terrible for the gambling business. In a very Trumpian move, those who watched the casino crumble had to pay $10 for the fall. Number 13. The Kingdome in Seattle. Although Seattle's Kingdome only lasted 24 years, its architects claimed it was built to last a millennium. Even while it may not have endured as long as they had hoped, the fact that it took some work to tear down indicates that it wasn't just a building that could boom and be done with it. It was also a sports arena, so there were numerous tasks to complete before the explosives could be set off. Workers moved around above and below one another and tore out 10,000 seats, 5,000 bleachers, miles of roofing insulation, wall panels, and anything else that could move to reach the center of the structure. Number 12. Zeon City Building. This Zeon City Building is a 118-meter-high building that was demolished back in 2015 in around roughly 13 seconds. Its demolition is a testament to both skill and explosive power. Those who helped make this explosion and destruction possible were happier with how it went down. For one thing, the building collapsed in the right direction, and the operation worked quite well for another. There was a bar about 20 feet from where the building fell, which was not slightly damaged. One of the ironies of this building's destruction was that it had never been used as a building. It was placed in a city technology center, but was never used for some reason. So they decided to get rid of it and put something else in its place that would be useful. Number 11. 425 Park Avenue. Suppose you've ever been to New York, or even lived there. You'll know that some neighborhoods are among the most opulent and expensive to live in. Park Avenue is undoubtedly one of these neighborhoods because it has all kinds of buildings and apartments that only the rich can afford. If landowners feel they can make more money by knocking something down, they will. Precisely what they did with 425 Park Avenue. The demolition took place in July 2015, marking the first time an entire block building had been torn down on Park Avenue, and the first time in 50 years that a new, complete block structure was constructed. Number 10. The Singer Building. The Singer Building was part of the first boom of skyscrapers built in New York City, and when it first opened to the public in 1908 at 149 Broadway, it set a record for the tallest building finished at the time. If you look at it, especially regarding the building's style and other factors, you can see how many people were enamored with it for a while. However, others would eventually dwarf it, especially modern skyscrapers. The Singer Building's exterior was made of brick, stone, and terracotta, but its core was steel. When it was finished, it had a stunning marble-clad entrance to the lobby, 16 elevators, and more than 410,000, 38,000 meters squared, square feet of office space. However, by 1961, the company that owned the building would move to a new location, and because of the tower's limited space, they decided to demolish it rather than keep it standing. Despite this, the building set a record by being the tallest building ever to be demolished at the time, till it was surpassed by the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company Tower. Number 9. CPF Building in Singapore. Another place that has a history of creating pretty enormous structures to be used by humans, as well as to inspire awe in others, is Singapore. Until it was demolished in recent years, the CPF building was one that most clearly suited that description. The structure would be finished by 1976, and in November 2015, it was sold for $550 million to Ascendance Land, currently known as Capital Land. Although Singapore plans to make the most of its new real estate and to put up a new office building where the old one stood, the final tenant would move out in February of 2017, and demolition began after that. Number 8. Four Seasons Hotel. Even if you've never been to a Four Seasons, you can appreciate the caliber of the ethereal place it must be, because this was a popular location for people to unwind, enjoy themselves, and take advantage of a nice day. However, this hotel wasn't as popular. It was located in East Maputo for over 3 decades with 25 floors, but was never finished, so it was just sort of there. Ironically, wouldn't you say the main cause of this was because it wasn't finished? Number 7. Grand Prince Hotel, Akasaka. The Grand Prince Hotel Akasaka in Tokyo was the subject of a very slow takedown in 2013 that focused on actual deconstruction rather than blowing it up entirely or the imploding method. The way they would do it was to start at the time, and then every 10 days they would be able to go through 2 floors of the place. Over time, the building shrank and would be finished without the need for controllable demolition techniques. The creativity is beautiful, and the fact that they could recycle the materials that were deconstructed and not just obliterate them and throw them is something to applaud. Number 6. 4 UK Power Station. There was a series of power stations in Yorkshire that had been around for about 50 years before they were all eliminated via implosion in 2021. While we can understand them referring to this as a landmark, if they also felt the need to get rid of it, that's rather telling that it was time for it to be removed, wouldn't you say? As seen in this video, they detonated them within seconds of one another, and for a brief moment you would think that they were all going to fall on you. But instead, the demolition fell as planned. Isn't the beauty of an explosion truly breathtaking? Number 5. 5 Kerala skyscrapers. Now we move on to India, where the removal of the Kerala skyscrapers in the year 2020 was a smart move. The Supreme Court ordered the demolition of the buildings after a committee discovered that they were built in violation of rules that protected the coastal areas. They were terrible for the environment, and they just had to go. It was odd that the skyscrapers got so far along before being called out, but sadly, some families lost their homes as a result. Number 4. MD Anderson Houston Building. The iconic 18-story limestone-clad building at 1100 Holcomb Boulevard in Houston, Texas, was destroyed in an explosion in 2012, which is ironic in many ways and funny in others. The building was actually a cancer center that was established on campus back in 1975 and was an impressive building, but sadly had to go just a little over 40 years into its existence. Number 3. 19 buildings in China. The technical aspect of this is simply astounding because blowing up one building can be difficult enough if you don't have the right tools and people. But going and doing it 19 times to have all of which would fall almost simultaneously is fantastic. At one point, China decided to drop 19 buildings in one set. The demolition in the Hubei province covered 15 hectares of area and used 5 tons of explosives. This remarkable and impressive video shows how the controlled explosion in China, which took place at night, safely brought down approximately 150,000 square meters of concrete, steel, and glass in 10 seconds. Number 2. Champlain Tower South. The Champlain Tower South was built in Miami, but in 2021, a portion of the buildings would collapse, and when they did, they took many people out with them. As a result, the remaining portions of the Champlain Tower South had to be destroyed to ensure the safety of others, and the search parties could go in and investigate the other parts of the wreckage. So, this is a story of a set of buildings needing to be exploded because they weren't safe to live in. Lives had already been lost, and it would be painful for many to see them still standing. Number 1. St. John General Hospital. The St. John General Hospital was established in St. John, New Brunswick back in 1931. If you're familiar with the expression "city on a hill," this was similar, except it was a hospital. The hospital remained there for a long time, lasting until the 1980s before being ordered to be demolished in 1995. The hospital had to be taken down cautiously and securely because the explosion couldn't touch the region around it, but happily, they were able to make it work. The hospital's dome survived the demolition undamaged and was recovered from the rubble. This concludes the top 15 scary building demolitions in the world. Which of these building demolitions is your favorite? Let us know in the comments section. Don't forget to like and share the video with friends and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.